So, we're going to talk about the shit tree again. In light of the ramping up of these false flags. The one last week. The one the week before. It's frustrating for those of us that can actually look at an event like that and like just know right away what it is. Well, anytime you even hear of something like that happening, the moment I hear about it, I'm like, well, it's fake. I know it's fake. It's, you know, we've seen all this. We know how this works. It's just that rolling them out one after another shamelessly, like they don't think people are very smart. Well, actually, I think it's becoming less about being smart and more about being aware. Because you can be really smart and just not aware of how these things work in the world. And that has everything to do with veil bro and scale bro. The veil being the failing technology tied to the beast, which may or may not be tied to the scales we have on our eyes, that as they're reduced in quantity, we're able to see more. You know, it's a biblical thing. So instead of just trying to think that everybody's stupid, I think I need to recontextualize it as people just can't see it yet. So anyway, I don't really deep dive into these events anymore because I know what they are. When I first started becoming aware of them, I think my first one that happened when I knew what was going on, the first big one that happened was the Connecticut one. And I dove into that and collected all this stuff and exchanged stuff with people online. And, hey, look at this, look at that. Got a timeline down. All these videos. The one video I liked the most was they took an overhead shot of an area outside the school where parents were supposed to come to get information, all right? And they had an overhead shot of this with the Benny Hill music added to it, and it was showing the people going into the reception area where they're supposed to get information on the event, going out the back door, coming around the parking lot and going back in, over and over in a circle, just to create the illusion that there were a lot of parents coming there and there was activity there. And that was my favorite one because it's just so preposterous. I didn't even check if there was a drill on these last two. Like normally when they have one of these events happen, you'll find out that there was a drill nearby. You know, you can go online and find the I think it's Homeland Security that does the drills. You know, they use military, what would be crisis actors, like people that sign up to do these drills or to play the injured during these drills and stuff. They usually coincide with these events. But like I said, I didn't even spend 5 minutes looking into this one because I know it's like it's bullshit. It's another thing. And they want the same stuff. You know, they're trying to push for the 2A thing because as soon as they get the guns, man, things are going to get real ugly. I don't think people realize that. All the people advocating for the seizure of weapons and stuff like that, they don't... I mean, there's some naivety there. And maybe there's more trusting. Or they don't understand how the world works. Just look at Pol Pot. Look at these... look at Australia. Like, look at other places that lost their guns and look at the instant tyranny, you know, they're put under. They need to do that. They need to make that happen. And they're going to try to force it. And it seems that they're just doing it now. They're just going to keep rolling these out. It's always going to be the same scenario. It'll be sloppy job Mossad all the time. It's the same scenario. The same kind of guy, the same kind of motives. All the time, just one after another, shamelessly. They're just rolling these out. Now, what it comes back to is the Jim Leahyism, which is the shit tree. The shit tree is the original lie, the original event, the fake thing. That's the shit tree. Once they plant the shit tree, almost immediately, they have to start putting the shit branches attached to it. And what the shit branches do is it keeps you from looking at the actual tree and instead focuses your attention on the ancillary stuff, the tertiary sort of TV interviews with family members, or later on down the road, Hollywood reenactment or a Hollywood film based on the event. Like all these kind of things are just branches on the shit tree. They're shit branches. So now we're immediately into the shit branch phase. You see editorials of, why are white men so angry? Why did video games make kids violent? So that they can talk about the event without having to actually talk about the event. Those shit branches, those other points of discussion, other TV features. We're talking to the family members here who also happen to be related to the families of all the other incidents we've had in the past couple of years, but they don't say that. You figure that out by just looking and being like, hey, isn't that the uncle of the other guy from Florida? And yeah, and isn't that grandmother the mother from the one up in Boston? They just switch them all out. I believe, I think those crisis active things, I think, are a bit of a red herring. They do use them for, it's a lot of military application for drills and stuff. But I think the actual people that get on camera and have to talk and do this are part of a very small controlled group that are related to the 13 families. It's their progeny. I think that's how they have to do it. For some kind of reason, like they have these strange rules that they have to play by. I don't understand all of it. I don't care about understanding all of it. And maybe it's also the only people they can trust, because they always play the parts of these public figures, all the way down to entertainment, as I spoke recently about the Laurel Canyon connection to 1960s music and the hippie movement. So it's always the same people. They just rotate them around. But if you don't have any clue or any interest in what would be considered esoteric knowledge, you don't think about this stuff. You're just some guy watching the TV and he sees a parent or something, and it pulls at the emotional heartstrings of people because they can put themselves in their places. Like they see a mother's grief. The last thing they're thinking is this person is putting on an act. It's fake. And if you try to explain that to someone, which I've done in the past, with the Connecticut one in particular, disastrous results. You get ostracization. I get ostracization. You get ostracized a bit. You're called crazy, and people really worry about you because they can't see it for whatever reason, or they won't see it. So we're in the advanced shit branch phase right now, where you're gonna see possibly they'll do a movie about one of these, like they did with Wahlberg in the Boston one. Anytime you see a Hollywood movie about an event, and that's everything, like the Julian Assange thing, anything where Hollywood weighs in on an event that happened to try to make a story about it, it's absolutely bullshit. And in fact, the script was probably written before the actual real world event happened, because they do tend to work backwards like that a lot. Everything's inverted. It all comes to you in an inverted way. And a lot of times, if you want to know the truth about something or how something works, you gotta flip it yourself, and it'll get you much closer to something's true meaning. Now, there's a lot of people on the hamster wheel. They have to stay on the hamster wheel because they need to afford to live and have, and eat and stuff and take care of their families. So they don't have time to be messing around on the internet or anything when it comes to stuff like this. They feel they are informed by just whatever 5 minutes of news they get to watch, or headlines in a newspaper that they get to read. And a lot of times that's all they get. So they have to go off that. So, and as preposterous as it sounds, there is still a large portion of the population that maybe not front brain, but subconsciously they think, well, it's in the news, it must be real. It's on the news, you know, it's in the newspaper. It's of course it's real. It can't lie, right? Well, I mean, actually legally they can. The Smith-Mundt Act was overturned in, I think, Barry Soetoro's second year as president. What was it? No, maybe it was 2012. And the Smith-Mundt Act, what it said was that the government can't use propaganda as news. They can't propagandize what's supposed to be news stories. So it kept them from editorializing or selling you straight up bullshit in some cases, which is what they do now. That was overturned, that was removed, so now it is legal, as if they had to make it legal. They don't. There is no higher thing these guys answer to. When they do stuff like that, make something legal, it doesn't matter because it's their own system, you know, that had the illegality. It's for us. It's so we can, those laws are in place so that they can, when they use them against us, no one complains. In the case of the, or no one thinks to complain. In the case of the Connecticut thing, Alex Jones got in trouble for talking about it. Well, he's owned by them. He's one of their guys. So they brought like a bullshit court case onto him, which they couldn't anyway because, well, he's their guy. It's almost like we're going to pretend that we're coming after you for saying this. And they pretend came after him, and he pretend got in some kind of trouble. They couldn't have done that with the regular citizen because they had no leg to stand on in that case. I mean, they would have to, if it was a real citizen that they didn't own, and if the world was real at all, they would have to prove that what he was saying was false. They couldn't with that thing. There's no fucking way. There's way too much evidence that the normiest normie can look at for 5 minutes, and at least, if not admit they see it, they would see it. So what they did is they got this guy, one of their guys, to pretend get in trouble, have a pretend like court proceedings, and I think they pretend found him guilty. Now what this does is it creates an atmosphere of, oh wow, Alex Jones got in trouble for that. You can't say anything about that. And that's the trick. So, and it worked because people they backed the fuck off that one. They backed all the way off that one. And they needed to do extra damage control because that one was so awful. And I don't know, like I've said it before, I don't know if it's because they've always been this incompetent and awful, or if it's just this generation of controllers and farmers that are incompetent and awful. And it's also veil bro, scale bro. Are we just seeing the stuff now, whereas we don't see stuff? I try to use mind reading skills, but I can't sometimes. Yeah, I try to, give people their area and not walk behind them, but they, it's like they're dogs and I got a raw meat in my shorts or something. But, yeah, it's, so these latest false flags are the most false flags. And I wonder how many weeks in a row they can do it before a large enough percentage of people say, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't seem plausible. But then again, people now have lived their lifetimes without having any sort of medical virus or pox or illness or event ever, and now all of a sudden we have 2 in a row. It's like, come on. But then again, what are you going to do? It's the hamster wheel. It's the veil bro, scale bro. I don't know. Just watch it, laugh at it, and document it. That's what I'm doing. And I suggest you do the same. Just for yourself, if anyone. It's a nice creative thing. All right, I'm going to head up onto the larger throngs of people here. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.